Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Democratic Services Committee on Monday, the 18th of March, 2024. I nearly said 1924. Right. It's going back a little bit, isn't it? Shall we start with the agenda? Any apologies for absence?
No apologies, Chair.
Right. Item 2 is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Has anybody got any they want to declare? Can't imagine. No. Thank you. The minutes, and to approve and sign the minutes of the previous meeting as a correct record. Has anybody got any amendments? No. Nobody? No. Would somebody like to propose? Thank you. Second? Thank you very much. We'll move on. Next item is item 4, which is the Council Development Strategy. And I'll hand over to Hugh for that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. So councillor development strategy, obviously training and development is key for councillors, and we're looking to develop something to give sort of a record of how we're going to support councillors and things. So I've developed this strategy, and if you look at paragraph 2.2 of the report, it sets out the aims of the strategy, which are to equip councillors with a wide variety of skills and knowledge and competencies to fulfil their various roles. This sort of falls in quite nicely with legislation and current views to make sure councillors are adequately supported. And it's also part of the lifelong learning belief. Then it's also to encourage councillors in their own development as a councillor, and to take up opportunities to develop their knowledge, skills and expertise during their terms of office. Obviously, some people can become a councillor and nobody really knows initially what it is going to be like to be a councillor, and I suppose it depends on what ward you live in is what your workload is going to be. So these are things that we can help develop, and we can use clever little things like getting other councillors to sit with you, to shadow you, to allow you to shadow them. There's always a learning role there. And also we're aiming for obviously political groups and political group leaders to be committed to the councillor training programme, and there's a duty on leaders to ensure that you as the group councillors follow things through. So with those elements in mind, and with the councillor training and development programme which we've adopted back in 2022 for the new intake of councillors, I've put together a draft councillor development strategy. It would normally be for 2022 to 27, and it would run normally for the term of office. But obviously, I'm only bringing it to you in 2024, hence it's only a 3-year one. But normally, and in the future, I would be looking for a 5-year strategy. I've mentioned the aims. The big part of it is to support councillors in their roles. What makes it good for you? What are your needs? And I suppose all too often, we will be telling you what you need to know, and I think that's got to stop. You need to be telling us what you want to know, what we need to be trying to provide teaching on. Obviously, we are not going to be able to provide training in all of the areas you want. There is a cost element, but hopefully we can be able to signpost you to the right places where courses may be available for you. The council have determined core training and skills, safeguarding training being one recently that councils had to undertake, corporate development to make sure that you're following the needs of the council as well, because it's not just about you and your ward, it is about the wider side of things. Service specific issues, if you're part of planning or licensing, there are things you need to know there. And likewise for committees, scrutiny, how do you scrutinize, and there's skills and things to learn along those lines. I propose to bring to the next meeting a list, just reminding you of what the mandatory courses are, the ones that have been agreed by council. They're not agreed by me. Council put them forward, and you as councillors adopted them. And then we can start looking at where people are in doing these things. So I'll stop there. I can see that Councillor Hale's got his hand up, and I'm willing to take any questions as I carry on then.
Yeah, thanks very much, Hugh. Do you think there's a place for maybe some overarching principles around maybe honesty, integrity, confidentiality, and I suppose then looking at the overarching public sector duty of candour, which again relates back to honesty in public office?
I totally agree with you, but of course that's already covered by the code of conduct. So that is covered, and I see no point in repeating that. However, of course, on the training list, code of conduct training is on that and is provided, and we'd certainly be encouraging councillors to ensure that they do undertake those courses.
Is the public duty of candour, is that included? I'm not sure I've seen that included.
Sorry, can you describe what you mean by that? I'm not.
It's about
answer you correctly.
It's about public sector organisations always being honest and open.
Yeah, yeah. That would be referenced in the code of conduct.
Okay.
But not as candour, to be honest with you, more as honesty and transparency. And of course, there are other things out there as well. There's legislation in, against fraud and things. There's plenty. Well, plenty. There's lots of protection in there for councillors and for public organisations.
I just think because it has now been legislated for the public duty on candour. I think it carries a little bit more weight than sticking in honesty and integrity. That's all.
I've not heard of the public duty on candour legislation, if I'm honest with you. So I'll have to look that up. I used to new one on me. I'll be honest with you. I can see Councillor May wants to come in, but I will look into that, Councillor Hale, because it's worth looking at.
Thanks very much.
Oh, I don't want to talk about candour or anything like that, so don't worry. What I'm asking you, Hugh, is as a group leader, often I go before the standards committee for the right reasons, I hasten to add. And the last session we had was all about the training needs of the group and the duty and obligation placed on me to ensure that. Now, in preparation for the last meeting, what I had to do, I went through all the council website on each of my group members' training and stuff that they've covered. Would it be possible, because I mean these standards committee meetings are quite frequent, we've got another one obviously coming up on Friday, to put a sort of pro forma or like an Excel spreadsheet, make a matrix, well yeah, yeah, so make it easier for group leaders or whips, or I mean we don't have whips, I think we've got a cat or something like that in our group, we're so small. But if we could put together some sort of a matrix to make it easier, so that when the group leaders come forward to the standards committee, that they in preparing the information, it can be there in front of the standards committee prior to the meeting, sort of starting and it would act as a good checklist as well.
Yeah, no point taken on that. A couple of things. Councillor training is obviously recorded on the Oracle system, and obviously we publish it for the world to see on the councillor website. So www.swansea.gov.uk/councillors, and then select the specific councillor. At the moment, you've got to look at that by individual councillor. You're clearly on it by group. And it's something that only 2 weeks ago, I've actually approached the Oracle team to ask for that, for me to access, and then I'd be able to send it out to councillors. And this ties in quite nicely about what I'm proposing for the next meeting, is to show you these are the training that you councillors are mandated to do by council. These are the ones that we ask you to do for your own development, and you're basically asking for a tick box who's done those alongside it. It's something I'm certainly working towards, but until I get the electronic button to do it, it's more likely only going to be for mandatory training in the first instance, because it's a huge amount of training. And of course, people have got to tell us that you've done the training for us to be able to record it on your websites as well. And please, that's a difficult one for us.
Sorry, Chair, can I come back on that? Is that okay? You're right. Yeah. So that's the way forward, because as I said, with a group of 4, it took me quite a while to sort of cut and paste this all into a document for the Standards Committee, and it make it a lot easier, because I mean the largest group we've got is obviously 45. So I mean that's that'll take substantially longer than 4 people to do. Yeah. All right. Thanks for that. That's encouraging.
And I just say this is what you will find in both school governors and in the community councils. They have to do these training plans. Yeah.
Right, that's on. I was talking to you the other day about the training who I had with the Oracle, trying to get and the logging in once you completed the course. I was taking photos once I completed it, but I wasn't sure where to go on it to put it through, and I was putting it through wrong every time, wasn't I, who? And this is where a few of the councillors were getting a little bit messed up on, is where to, because Oracle then loaded it, you got it, and it's in there, but it wasn't going through, and I couldn't figure it out, and I had to come down and sat with and who said everything else I was doing correctly, bar that one little bit at the end. Some of the other councillors have said the same. They've got to right through it, and then when to go to send it, and they haven't sent it correctly. So we do need something on more highlighted on it where it could be sent.
Any more questions? Is that Joe?
Yeah, thanks. This will come as no surprise to you. The safeguarding training, it took. I wasn't the only councillor that was having problems online. I spoke to Andrew Stevens, whose portfolio IT used to be, and he said, I wasn't the only one. There was quite a few councillors from the different groups that had a particular problem with Safeguard, and there is a particular problem with the software supplied by Oracle. So I'm just hoping that that it can be sorted out, because it was so frustrating. 3 times on it, I sent you a snapshot of saying the piece of equipment saying, congratulations, you have completed the safeguarding, and then you're telling me, well, it's not coming up, I'm not being notified. And then when you finally do get to do it properly, it takes you to a Microsoft page. So I don't know, it definitely needs looking at.
No, thank you for that, Councillor Hale and Councillor Baker. Totally sympathetic. Just to make the point, it's an Oracle issue that we have fed back, and from the start there was never any question about whether you had completed the course, but the system wouldn't recognise it as being finished until the save and close button had been pressed. I have asked the Oracle team, is there a way, you would have expected an ability for me to be able to go into the system to see where you are with the system, and they say there's not, but I've asked them to relook at that, because I find that incredible, to be honest with you. But they are looking at that, and obviously this was the first rollout of training for councillors using the Oracle system. It was new, it was difficult. I kept amending the guidance to try and make it, as I'm learning more, to give you more instruction, try and help. And I will say the Oracle Fusion team I was dealing with, and one of the girls in HR were very helpful, because obviously it's not my system. I'm just trying to get you through that, and I hope we keep learning, and I hope that we're not going to face these issues again. But obviously, Councillor Hale, I have fed it back, because I would like them looked at to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah, can I just come back in on that? Only to say that I did save and close 3 times, and that was my frustration, because I sat with my partner and went through it, and it was coming up I saved and closed, and it was saying congratulations, but for some reason then. But I've had it sort of I've had it confirmed by Andrew that there is an issue, definitely an issue with Oracle. I'm just wondering whether they're not Fujitsu, are they? Are they linked to Fujitsu?
Yeah, these aren't, you know, they're not issues for this report I'm working on, and
No.
obviously it's for a separate body, and I will feed that back because I think they're useful comments and they're important comments, because, you know, I'm here trying to get you all to do your training, and then I understand the frustration you're facing, and that's not fair. I do feel for that, and I wanted to be as seamless as I can for all of you. So any problems you have, feed them back, and any positives you have, because it's a learning curve for me to encourage you to do it, and for you to do the system as well.
Thanks very much.
Wendy, do you want to come
Yeah,
in?
I didn't have a problem finishing and close. What it should say, save and finish, not save and close. It sounds a bit stupid that way. I had a trouble getting in, as you know, and this whoever I think they phoned me. They were wonderful. I couldn't fault them for what they helped me to do, because I mean, be fair, we've done it years, but we haven't done it on the Oracle, have we? So the other system sometimes was a bit quirky, that was. But I think if we're going to get used to it now, we're going to have to get used to it. I didn't find a problem doing it at all. It was just getting in there because there was something wrong with I don't know whether it was the password or whatever, but you know, it will be solved, I'm sure.
Just one point I will make, and I quickly recognise the difficulties and the frustrations of councillors, and I made myself available to meet any councillor, and I did meet several that would either come into the office or I discuss via email, or I made myself available. I sought advice from people, and you know, it was quite nice to recognise officers throughout the council willing to help and to move to assist me to help you. So I put that on record as well.
Any more questions, comments? No? I just have one. You mentioned councillors requesting training. Will there be a formal process for them to do it, rather than just vaguely asking you for various training? Will that be part of the strategy?
Well, like anything, you know, it would be as formal as you emailing myself or my team, or if it's not for something perhaps we can do, you know, you might just be reaching out to the head of planning, for argument's sake, and asking for, you know, what they can develop internally. Because if you feel you need extra training on, let's say, finance, I'll use finance as an example. We just recently gone through budget. You know, I often speak then to the Section 151 officer, and he will put training on. But if you don't tell us where the training needs are, it's hard for me to recognise those. So yeah, an email. But of course, let's be honest about this. You asked me tomorrow for training. I've got to then see if the demand is there. Is there a budget there? And also, is the demand there for me to do it for everybody? And these are things I'd work to do my best with. And even if it's pointing you to a third party, WLG are always looking for courses to run. So it may not be a Swansea council response. It may be a Pan Wales response, and you know, electronically, which is useful.
Thank you. So, thank you. Is that everybody online as well? I don't know if they.
Can you hear us online?
No. Right, I'll repeat it. The recommendation is that the councillor development strategy be approved and recommended to council for adoption. Are you
Yeah.
all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
We hand up as well.
Right. Thank you. Well, I think that's all of our agenda. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Chair.